it's a pleasure to be able to talk to you all today. I hope you're going to find this session informative. Just a little bit of background. So Abbey College Manchester is actually 30 years old this year, our 30th anniversary. We started as a college for retake A-level, rooted in medicine and those other kinds of disciplines that people wanted to get into. But over the years, we've diversified, we've become an international boarding school. And in the last 2 years, we joined together with International House to start this rather unique program of academic studies with football training. Now, I am not the greatest sports person in the world. However, I've always been an avid fan of football and cricket, following my dad. And, you know, I have seen the huge benefits that sport and academic studies together can bring to students. So that's what we're going to talk to you a little bit today. So first of all, we'll move on to what programs of study are available with football training. So the suitability of this course is for boys and girls who are 14 years old or above. And the programs that can be studied include A-levels, the traditional route through to university, International Foundation Programme, which can be studied as a 1 or 2 year course, also an 18-month course as a route to UK universities. Or younger students can start on our 2-year GCSE or our 1-year GCSE programme and then progress on to one of our other programmes, A-level, or indeed to International Foundation Programme. Now, as you'll see from the slide, there are perhaps slightly more limited subjects available. Now, I'll talk to you in a minute about what a quality education looks like. But most students on the programme are going to either be more on the science side or perhaps more the business economics side. So for A-level, we would offer biology, chemistry, physics, or you could do biology, chemistry, maths, or physics, biology, maths. You could do a combination with maths, or you can do business economics and maths. So we have those kind of 2 suites of subjects. For International Foundation Programme, we can go down a business route, a science or an engineering route. Really, there are quite a lot of flexibilities there. And for GCSE, our core subjects are available. So that would be English, that will be maths, that would be the sciences, or maybe business, religious studies, those kind of subjects. And you can do the football training alongside all of those. What's important is that whatever your motive for football training, be it that you want to aim to the top, be it you want to do it to improve your fitness and your general ability in the sport, then your education's really important. So if we have a look at the next slide, we can talk about the sort of key features of how the programme works. Now, you're going to be pursuing a quality education. What does a quality education mean? What that means is that you're going to be in small class sizes, maximum 12. It means you're going to have expert teachers. It means you're going to have all the support you need academically to be able to thrive alongside your football. So in the morning, you have your academic classes, and they will run from 9 o'clock through till 12:30. And in those lessons, you will have all your teaching that's required. Then in the afternoon, you are transported to the football pitch, to the training ground, where you get your your afternoon training. Now, most students do their training 5 days a week. That's every afternoon. However, there are options to do less days, and particularly if you are getting near exam periods, some students will reduce the number of days training that we do. We're very flexible to do that, because as with any course we offer at Abbey College Manchester, we're looking at the individual. So we will look at what program's right for you, and then what training program's right for you. And my colleagues will talk in more detail later about how the actual training works. It's important to realise that you are a member of Abbey College Manchester. So we are your sponsor. So if you are on a visa, then your sponsorship is with Abbey College Manchester, and the football training is then seconded to International House. So let's take a look now at a few examples of some students who've been on the programme. Now, I just wanted to say that we started the programme 2 years ago with 2 students. And in fact, these are a couple of the first students that joined. And the number in the first year rose to 5. And then last September, and during this academic year, we've risen to 22 students on this programme. So you can see how popular it is and the brilliant feedback that we've had from it. So this is Rashik, and he is Malaysian. And I remember interviewing him really clearly. We talked about his passion for academic studies. You know, he's a brilliant scientist. He's doing A-levels. He's carried on doing the 2-year A-level program, and he's got fantastic offers for chemical engineering at Manchester, Newcastle, Birmingham, Sheffield. And he has worked incredibly hard in his studies. But alongside that, for almost all of the 2 years, he spent 5 afternoons doing football training. And he has improved his skills, his sportsmanship, his team player, and that's all been projected through into his university application. And when he goes to university, he's going to be able to take up sport in quite a serious way at university as well. So that's been very beneficial to him. And he has really been a trailblazer for this program and an absolute success. So that's Rashik. Now, the next student we're going to look at is Mukhtar. Mukhtar is from Nigeria. Now, he joined us more or less on an 18-month program. He did start with A-level, but he then moved across to our highly successful International Foundation program. Again, he's a talented footballer, and he has also now got some super offers from the universities of Birmingham, Bristol and Leeds for civil engineering. And he's undertaking the International Foundation pathway. He again has, played every day. He has been, developing his team skills. He's been developing his education alongside and managing those two very well. Because education, is very challenging for students. So it is very important that the solid undertaking of academic studies is there in the programme. So I've talked about what we offer academically, and you can see for yourselves the success and the way that these can work dually together in terms of any student. So I'm now going to hand over to my colleague Mick Brennan, who's Director of Football at International House, and he's going to talk to you about how the training works, about the coaches, and about the sort of routes through from this programme into football as well. So I will see you later, and I'll hand over to Mick. Thanks.
Hello everyone, I'm Mick Brennan. I'm just going to talk you through now these next slides with regard to the football specifically. As Liz was talking there, we work hand in hand with Abbey College. It's very important that the academic side of things underpins the football coaching and your quest and to strive to be a better player and progress on. So we work hand in hand to make sure that the academic side of things is working before you can come over onto the football side of things. But with regards to the coaching, all the coaching takes place on a 4G AstroTurf at 10 Acres Lane. We also use an additional venue, which is in the centre of Manchester, which again is a 4G, but the majority of it and our games are at 10 Acres Lane. And the beauty of having a 4G AstroTurf means that we have no training sessions or games cancelled because of weather. We didn't have any that were cancelled because of weather in the last season. So we do train right through the winter. Transport to and from the venue is provided. So from your morning lessons at the school, there will be transport from there. It is a 5-minute journey up to the training ground. We have UEFA qualified coaches. We're going to talk a little bit about the coaches later on. But our coaches are involved with current professional clubs and are ex-professionals themselves. And we will have a little look at the coaches' profiles a little bit later on. We do work through match analysis. So games are filmed using our brand new VO camera. And each player gets a login for that. So if you're filmed on the game, you can go in and you can find your own highlights. That's been very useful in this current time when the players haven't been able to be out on the pitch. They've been able to go in, watch their highlights and create their highlights videos. And we then look at that as match analysis in the classroom, where we can talk with individual players or groups of players and give them feedback on their game. And as a player, you can see how you're playing. You can create your own feedback from there. Competitive matches, we had over the last season at least a game a week. In some of the weeks we had 2 or even 3 games. And we play other colleges, academies and pro teams, and they'll come to us and we'll travel to them. But on a daily basis, we have the technical and the tactical sessions. So we'll work with players on an individual basis with their technique and with their skill in their sessions, but we'll also work of how to play as a team, the tactics of the team. We have our own ethos of how we play, trying to play out from the back and passing. If we move on to the next slide. Okay, so on the programme, the aim of the programme is to coach you football and to develop your football as we go through. And it's also to give you opportunities within the game. All right, we're not only looking necessarily about playing, and the majority of our players want to go on and want to progress to be a better player or want to go on to progress to be a professional player. But we also look at as many different opportunities as we can, and we present them in so many different ways throughout the programme. So the first opportunity is the daily coaching that we do, and our coaches have links to many football clubs and different organisations within the game. We have regular showcase events, and the showcase events are days where we will put on sessions and we'll put on games with our academy players, and we'll invite scouts and club representatives to come to watch the players, to assess them. And within that, we have IPSO, who are the International Professional Scouting Organisation, who comes and they will do a scouts report on the players. We have just recently done our showcase event as an online event. We aren't able to get out on the pitch at the moment, and we had nearly 2,000 views of that event there, and that was where all the players put their highlights up onto our platform, and club representatives and scouts will come and watch them. Throughout the season, we'll have guest coaches in there. There will be guest coaches who are linked to clubs or have experience with clubs. Again, it's another opportunity to showcase as a player what you've got. We spoke about the regular games, and within those games, we play a variety of different teams. And one of the opportunities within there is the visiting team's coach, manager, representatives. Most of the time are linked to professional clubs or semi-professional clubs or routes into the game. And we are very open to talking to them if there is an opportunity for one of our players to progress on in the game, to talking to them and introducing players. We have partnerships with lots of different groups that come and give us opportunities on the programme. One of those is the US scholarship route. So once you've got your academics and you've got your football background behind you, we have a route into the US through one of our partners who can help and guide players into that, which could be a really good opportunity for many players to go and further your studies in the US, following your studies at Abbey College and your training with us, but also being able to play in the college system in the US. If we move on to the next slide. So we have a few of the success stories, and Liz was talking earlier about the success stories academically, and I'm not going to go through all of these, but as we were talking about our routes into the game, many players that come to us, they want to play at a higher level, and we've had a number of players that have played at a higher level. International students coming into the UK, it can sometimes be difficult due to FA legislation and due to visas to be able to play for professional clubs in the UK, and that's something that many players need to be aware. That's not to say that as you progress on through the programme and get older, it's impossible. However, as we're going through, let me just put my screen back on. As we're going through the programme, we have other opportunities. We try and link in with clubs overseas to be able to send players overseas. A lot of our scouts now work for clubs overseas. Now, two of the success stories that we've had last season were Syed and Khan. They went on trials to Oldham Athletic. You can see down there at the bottom, they were at Abbey College. We also had Arhan, who went on a trial to Blackburn Rovers in the Championship. So we have a number of success stories, but when you look through, if you look through that slide, once you get the presentation, there's also success stories going overseas, but not necessarily in the playing side of things. In the past, we've had students that have gone and set up their own coaching businesses back home. I think from that stage, we can move on to the next slide. Okay, so we spoke a little bit earlier about the experience of some of the coaches. So here, just to briefly introduce the coaches that we have and the staff that we have dedicated to the football programme, along with other members of staff that support. Matt Lowe there is our head coach in Manchester. So he's the coach that you would see on a daily basis and deal with on a daily basis. Matt currently also works at Everton Football Club on the academy there, and previously worked at Blackburn Rovers. Football does run in his family. His father is actually the head coach at Blackburn Rovers, and he himself has played at a good standard at semi-professional. As we move on to David Raven, David coaches with us, and he's very involved in the Manchester programme and coaches on another site and a full time with us. David brings a lot of experience to the programme. He's an ex-Liverpool player, started his career playing at Liverpool. He was on the bench for one of the UEFA Champions League games, and he's got a Champions League medal. When he finished his career with Liverpool, he moved up to Inverness and was quite a hero at Inverness, scoring in the one of the cup finals for Inverness, Caledonian Thistle. He's now still playing semi-professional, and he's coaching with us and brings a lot of, he's an A-licensed coach, brings a lot of experience to the programme. And just his background and his stories and how he can empathise with the players and what they're going through really brings a lot to the programme. Myself, I used to work at Blackburn Rovers. That's the club that I supported. I was really fortunate to be able to do that and worked there for 13 years managing the coaching team in the community programme and coaching myself. That's where I got all my coaching badges, and now I lead the team here on the programme. And then we've got Chris Honor, who comes and supports the coaches. His background is strength and conditioning and fitness. He was also the manager of Bury Ladies Football Club, and he's now scouting with Oldham Football Club. So we've got a wealth of experience of coaches and links there for player progressions. I think now I'm going to hand over to Chris. He's going to talk a little bit about the boarding house at Riverside. Thank you.
Thanks, Mick. Hi, everybody. I'm sure you're all as impressed as I am by that list of coaches and the experience that they've got. The boys and the girls on the programme, when they're exposed to that level of experience on a daily basis, they can't help but improve. And so I'm just going to give you a little introduction to Riverside House, being a boarder at Riverside House here in Manchester. And unlike most boarding schools, the boarding isn't actually on the site, because the college building itself is right slap bang in the centre of Manchester, and the boarding house, it's about a 15-minute walk away, so it's just over a kilometre, and it was purpose built about 5 years ago as student accommodation. And we rent 2 floors of Riverside House, and this is the 3rd boarding school that I've worked in my career, and I can honestly say that the quality of the bedrooms, the quality of the flats, is the best I've ever seen. One of the key features that the boys and girls enjoy in Riverside House is they've each got their own individual single study bedroom. So nobody has to share a bedroom, nobody has to share facilities. Each bedroom has its own ensuite bathroom. They've got a study area, a desk, wardrobe, and they've got a nice big bed, so it's not a tiny bed. And then they're all arranged into flats of 4, 6 or 7, And then each flat has got a really nice kitchen area, seating area, dining area, where the students can cook if they wish. They can socialise with their friends, they can hang out. We provide meals for the students if they wish, so they can have 3 meals a day with us. We got a brand new cook back at Christmas time, and she is absolutely fantastic. She has revolutionized the evening meals, and she's very open to feedback. She's really changed the menus, and she continues to change the menus based on feedback from the students, based on what the students want to eat. All the food is vegetarian, so it's all very healthy. And the students really enjoy spending time with Esther, who like I say, is our cook, and we consider her as part of the pastoral team. So obviously there is high-speed internet connection, so the students, when they are back at Riverside, they can do their work, but more importantly, or as importantly, they can stay in touch with friends and family who are maybe thousands of miles away. We saw Rashik and Mukhtar, Rashik from Malaysia, Mukhtar from Nigeria. You know, not having the internet would be a problem for them. So it's there. They can Skype, they can FaceTime friends and family back home. One thing that the football program has done for the boys on it is it's made them more mature. It's given them that sense of responsibility. Obviously the training they do with Mick and the team at International House is very strict. It's very rigorous, and the boys have carried that over into their academic work at college, but also into their kind of everyday life back at Riverside. If you were to go into these boys' flats, they keep them really clean, they keep them really tidy, they look after them, and they look after each other. The students who are in Riverside House have to be 16 or over. So they have to be 16 in the September where they join us. If they turn 16 during the academic year, they are considered too young to be in boarding. And we do have other options for international students here in Manchester, and we have a number of students who stay with homestays. So we have a fantastic network of people here in Manchester who look after our students, and that gives the students a fantastic opportunity of living with a family, a Mancunian family here, who will give them a different experience to what they would have in the boarding house, and they become part of the family. So the family take them out at weekends, the family look after them, and of course it's really good for their English. The vast majority of students with us don't have English as a first language, and as well as the rigor that I mentioned with the football program, is how much the students who play football every day, how much their English improves, because obviously all the coaching they're getting is in English, and they just pick it up so incredibly quickly.
Hello everybody, thank you. I'm here again. I can see a few questions are popping up as well, which we will be answering later. So I'm sure a lot of you are obviously in this this pandemic that's overtaken us, and in this current situation, you must be thinking how we're going to kind of continue not just academic studies, but actually our actual football training for September. So obviously we have to wait until we get government advice and Football Association advice. We are not going to be able to have a definite plan until we know exactly what the government advice is. However, we're busy planning a way for September. And what we're planning to do is to actually run all our lessons either face-to-face with social distancing, and or continue our very, very high quality distance learning program, which actually consists of live distance learning lessons. So that is lessons live. And we've overcome time zone issues by looking at the timings at which we do those lessons. We also record the lessons, and then we can post information and other activities for other parts of the day. Now, if a student is enrolled already for September for at one of our programs with football, then we will be looking at modifications to the football in line with the Football Association guidelines. And Mick will be able to talk to you a little bit more about that in a moment. But in terms of lessons, we're absolutely able to deliver any of our programs. One other possibility for students would be to start in September and then pick up the football in January, or indeed take a January start. So for our International Foundation 2-year and our 2-year GCSE, you can do a January start. For our A-level, you would need to start in September, and if you were not able to be with us, then we would do distance learning with you. We have proven over the last 2 months how effective this has been. We've had feedback from our students, and we've continued all our programs in a distance learning approach. So you could then start the football maybe a bit modified, as Mick will talk about in a minute. However, it does mean that you can still do your studies and still be a part of the program. So that would give you those contingencies. And you can see I'm sitting with a picture of the building behind me. We have a very comprehensive plan for how we will manage the building, keep it super clean and hygienic, how we will make sure that there's social distancing for those students that are in the building. However, we will be offering a dual economy, if you like, a mixed economy of lessons of face-to-face and distance learning. So if you are at a distance from us initially, and your arrival point cannot be right at the beginning of term, you will not be disadvantaged, and you can arrive at any point you can and then join the face-to-face, having had distance learning prior to that. So what I'm going to do now is just hand over to Mick again, because I think he can talk a little bit more about how modified training might look and the kinds of things that they've been doing already with International House students in terms of fitness advice and online training, not to mention the virtual showcase. So Mick, I'll just hand over to you again. Thank you.
Thanks, Liz. Yes, so obviously football is, the football element is a very difficult one for us to be looking at doing as distance learning, like the teaching, but we have managed to look at some elements recently with the students that have been on our course this year and have travelled home, or some of the ones that are still in Manchester. So we will be looking from September. We're aiming at September, hopefully getting out on the pitch. As Liz said, that will be determined not only by the government advice, but also by the Football Association's advice. Luckily, the Premier League are acting as guinea pigs for us at the moment, and they're starting training this week. So we will know a little bit more about how that starts. They're starting training with small groups, using the social distancing and modifying the way they're training. So if we can get out on the pitch in September, we will be doing exactly the same. We'll be modifying timings of training so that we can look at the travel to the training ground, and we can fit in with the travel for rush hours and things within Manchester. But also we'll modify the training sessions initially so there is less contact, or there's more social distancing with that. If we can't physically get out on the pitch to start in September, then we will revert to a similar system to what we're using at the moment. So over the past few weeks, we've been sending some sample videos to the players, looking at some sessions that they can do. Some of them are in the home, some of them in the garden or in the park, and demonstrating sessions and giving them some timescales. And many of the players have been doing them, videoing them and sending them back in for us. Along with that, we've been sending some fitness advice and some fitness plans for the players to be working through, because that's really important, that we don't have that reversibility and that the players' fitness levels drop. And we can do regular testing and that online. Different things that we are starting to do now online with the players is we're going to do some Q&As with ex-players and some Q&As with people such as the US soccer route. But we did do the virtual showcase. Now, the virtual showcase was where we got the players to put together their CV and their highlights videos and any information about them, and we put that out on a platform and shared that with, I think it was over 70 scouts and club representatives. So we've got lots of things that we can do. If we get to a stage where we can have some players in and some players that can't travel, then we can video whatever sessions we got using our new VO, and then we can share that with all the players that are waiting to come and do some sessions via Zoom, as we're doing today, to talk through what the session is. So we've got lots of ways and lots of ideas of how we can progress on and move things forward.
Thank you, Mick. That's super. Okay, so moving on, how's the slideshow going, Chris? Are we able to get to the next slide?
Not really. Let me try.
Technology is wonderful as long as it works. Now, I do notice there's a few questions that have popped up, and we're probably moving towards that sort of zone now of answering your questions. What we're going to do is sort of have the panel of us so you can see us all, and then Vicky's going to kind of guide us through the questions and the answers that you might want to have. So here we are, here's a summary. That's what we wanted, wasn't it? Okay, so this is a sort of summary now of the academic studies with football training package. So the package price, you can see there, is £30,850. And that is a lower price actually than if you were doing some of our other programs. So it is a special package price, and it includes all academic tuition. It includes all football training. It includes football kit, which is supplied by International House, and you can see in the photographs how smart everyone looks in the standard kit. It includes boarding at Riverside House or with a host family, and basic insurance. Now, it would be wise for you to check your own insurance, but it does cover basic insurance for injury. Now, all of the courses are available with football, as we've said. This is for boys and girls age 14. We've not had any girls yet from Abbey College, but we really would love some girls to join. And it also includes your detailed the academic reports from us, and very detailed football reports, which go through each of the skills with targets, and those are provided at least termly. So they're frequent reports. So that's a sort of summary overall of the whole package, if you like, and that's per academic year. Should you start in January, then the fees would be reduced pro rata. So thank you for listening. There's another lovely picture of all our students and in the yellow kit on this occasion. What we're going to do now is take questions. So Vicky's been sort of checking what questions have been coming up, and also we've just got a few others which we thought might be ones you might want to have answered, commonly answered questions. So Vicky, I'll hand over to you, and then you can let us know who you'd like to answer the questions. Okay, thank you very much.
Cool. I hope everyone enjoyed the session so far. So we've actually received quite a few questions here. So the first one is for Mick. Is there a goalkeeping coach in the academy?
Matt is a qualified goalkeeping coach. He's alongside his outfield player. He's got his goalkeeping qualifications. So when we have goalkeepers on the programme, he will, when the other coaches are there alongside him, he'll take the goalkeepers to one side and we'll do some work. That's usually 2 or 3 times a week. Obviously, we try to get the goalkeepers working with the outfield players, because goalkeepers now are seen as 70% of their work is done with their feet. So they work as sweepers quite often now, and you'll see that Manchester City are key ones that do that. That was one of the reasons why they changed their goalkeepers a couple of years ago. So Matt, yes, we have goalkeeping coaching that Matt will lead on there and integrate them into the team.
Cool, thanks, Mick. There's actually another question for you. What kind of experience does the students need to have before applying to this academic with football training? I mean, if a student with limited experience but is really interested in joining the program, can they do that?
Yeah, we would hope that all the players and the students that come have an understanding of football and have an ability to be able to play. They don't have to be at a top level playing. They don't have to be playing at a county standard or a high level of playing. But if they haven't played before, if they are new to the game, then they may find that the football coaching, the intensity is quite challenging. However, that said, as Liz was saying, we have lots of options for training. Many of the players will train with us every day. If we get players that will come to us and they are struggling with the intensity of it, we can look at adapting the programme where they'll train 2 or 3 days a week, and we can bring them up to standard with that. So to answer the question, we would hope that players have an understanding of the game and have played locally with local clubs or grassroots clubs and that. But we don't look at a high standard, and we haven't got that entry level onto the programme.
Okay, thanks, Mick. We have a questions for Chris. The meals, when Riverside House, the vegetarian food is provided. So if a student wants a meat dishes, do they have to cook themselves, or can this be provided by the college?
We can't cook meat for various different reasons. Some of them kind of religious reasons, some of them social reasons, some of them health and safety reasons. But as I say, the students all have these fantastic kitchens as part of their flats. I think they've got 2 fridges per flat, lots of opportunities to cook for themselves, to learn to cook for themselves. And lots of the students enjoy getting together and cooking together, especially at weekends. And at the moment it's Ramadan, so some of the students who are still with us here in Manchester are fasting, and they're getting together in the evenings to break their fast together. And obviously we are in the middle of a city, so there's lots of opportunities to get takeaways as well, but don't tell anybody because they're not very healthy. So Mick and Pete didn't hear that. But no, we're not allowed to cook meat.
So could you give us a bit more examples, as in what kind of meals are offered typically?
Okay, yeah. So a lot. So here in the UK, there's a thing called quorn, and I know it's not really known abroad. And it's I guess it's a little bit like tofu, although I know tofu is made from bean curd. Quorn, it's made from mushrooms, I think, ultimately. And it can be turned into almost anything. So you can turn it into like ground beef, so minced beef. You can turn it into chicken. You can turn it into fish. And you would not know you weren't eating minced beef, chicken or fish. So Esther, I think, does quite a lot with quorn. So she might do fajitas one night. She might do a lasagna another night. She's actually ultimately from Nigeria. And when some of the boys first found this out, they begged her to cook them jollof rice, and I think that's become a weekly staple on the Riverside menu. But like I say, she's incredibly open to feedback, and just loves being with the kids. Basically, she's a really, really, really good cook. So if there's a special dish that the boys and girls want, she will make sure she cooks it for them. She's a fantastic pastry chef as well. She's a really good baker, and so she makes birthday cakes. She's doing a special Eid cake because it's Eid this weekend, so she's doing an Eid cake for the Muslim students who are breaking their fast, or who are celebrating Eid this weekend. So yeah, if there's anything special that the students want, they just need to talk to Esther, and she will do her best to make sure it's done.
Cool, thank Chris. So you're already making me hungry. It's not lunchtime yet, but it all sounds very, very yummy. We have another questions for Liz. If a student is on academic studies with football training, does that mean that they are getting less tuition time?
No, what they actually get is the lessons are in the morning, and depending on the subject and the numbers of students, they actually have discrete classes. So this year we ran discrete classes for business, for economics, and for maths for the International House students. So they were in their own group. If the students are in a class where there aren't as many students doing football, then what happens is they have all their morning lessons, and then in sequence, they get catch-up lessons for anything they missed, which the other class would have had in the afternoon. Now, I already talked a bit about September plans, and our plan at the moment for our opening of the college in September is to be running morning lessons only at face-to-face, and then doing distance learning for the afternoon lessons. So that will actually niche in exceptionally well for the footballers, because they will then get the opportunity to join those distance learning lessons once they've finished the football training. So the short answer is no, there is no lessons are missed. Now, one caveat I would say is that if a student is doing GCSE and they're in their final year of GCSE and they are doing a full programme, they will probably only be able to train 3 days a week because of the intensity of that course. And I also mentioned before, say, Rashik, I mean, he did A-level throughout, so he trained 5 days for the first year. For the first term of the second year, he trained for 5 days, and then he moved to 4 and then to 3. And that's because as he was approaching A-level study, the A-level exams, which of course haven't actually happened, he needed to spend more time on his academic. And I think that, it really depends on each individual. I mean, there are some students on the programme who have high ambitions to go into professional, semi-professional football. And for those students, we can accommodate that. They will probably do a slightly lighter academic programme to facilitate them being able to get qualification, but still spend the maximum time on football that they need to. And as I say, we take a case-by-case basis. And I think, as Mick said before, we work together to find what the best plan is for each student so that they're maximising on both areas.
Thanks, Liz. The next question is actually for Mick. Could you tell us a bit more, like how do you make sure that players got right support and trainings, especially when they are mixed abilities? So if a student is strong player, but how they will be mixed with the weak ones, how do you find the balance to provide the support?
So we had 2 squads running over the past season. So we had our advanced squad and our development squad. So players will move depending on ability, depending on sometimes on their effort in training and how they're working and the testing through the fitness. They'll move across the squads depending on that. So obviously, depending on numbers, we will be aiming to have the same going into this season, having our advanced squad and our development squad. Both get the same opportunities of the coaching. Both get to be coached by Matt as our head coach and our supporting coaches, and that gets rotated down. So they'll get that same support, that same opportunity with all the coaches. They'll also get individual plans and individual one-on-ones with the coaches where they will talk through their progression and set some goals and some targets as they're going through. So that's how we will work it. That enables players of similar ability to progression to shine. So those players that are struggling, putting them into possibly a development side, it enables them to work to be able to play at their level and to not be overwhelmed sometimes by the pace of the game and the strength of the game. Whereas those players that are strong and are fast and technically strong, if they play in the advanced side, they can show their skills in there and they can play at that high level.
Cool, thanks, Mick. You seem like you're very popular today, so another question for you. Can international students, especially from Africa, get into professional teams in, for example, like a Premier League before the age of 18?
In the UK at the moment, no. Now, whether that changes with any rules around the recent Brexit and so on and so forth, we don't know. But currently, under the FA guidance, if they are under 18, under Article 19 of the FA guidance, they can't sign for a professional club in the UK. So that's got to be made very clear. However, our aim whilst it will be fantastic and we will support and we will help any player to progress on, and it would be great for us and for the players and for the programme if somebody went on to that type of level, we also try and support them to go into so many other different routes. So we have commissioned a study of the European and wider leagues and teams that will accept them students or them players on the visas. So we're working with them to get avenues and routes into them clubs. And as we say to a lot of the players, once you get past the age of 18, you never know, it becomes easier. It's not easy, but it does become easier if you are a world-beating player. And let's be right about it, to get into that type of level, you've got to be a world-beating player. You've got to be turning heads. So there is the opportunity. There's also the opportunities if then players go to other countries. So they may go into Sweden or somewhere else and play there and develop the game and develop their ability and their being seen in them, that in the future they may get back round into the UK to play at that type of level. Okay, but to answer the question, under 18s, currently, under the FA rules, they wouldn't be able to sign for a professional club or academy.
Cool. Thanks, Mick. We have a question for Liz. Could you please tell us a bit more, like how can students prepare, like to do now to be prepared for such challenging programs? So how do we know that they are at the right academic level, for example, in maths and physics, while they do the football training? How does the college know and assess?
Okay, that's a really good question. So in order to get entrance onto this programme, obviously we go through the usual process, which is an application is made, and then an interview is undertaken with either myself or Chris or my colleague Ian. And basically we talk through the academics. So we'd need to know prior study, the documentation on maybe your level at GCSE or equivalent, high school equivalent, your English level. There's an online Oxford English test that you can take if a student doesn't have an IELTS test. So obviously in order to get the programme right, the academic programme, we need to assess that the same as we would any student joining the college. And in a way, that's the beauty of coming to Abbey College, because we have this range of programmes. So if you've done your high school equivalent already and you are a really strong student, then the chances are A-level's going to work for you. If you are a student who has found that your level's a bit more middling and your English is not quite as strong, then our 2-year International Foundation programme works perfectly, because you will get front-loaded English, you will get support in your subjects, and then you move into our 2nd-year programme. And in a way, if football is a big part of your life and you really want to develop that, then our International Foundation programme is perfect, because it's a little bit less pressured than A-level, and it allows you to play football every day through the duration. So I think that would be something that comes to, as I say, the academic staff, myself, Chris and Ian in the college, to determine what the best programme would be. Now, for any student who's already enrolled, you will have been through that process. I know there's a few students on here today who are, so it's lovely to see you. But if you are thinking of enrolling, then the first thing to do is set up this initial interview. And as for the football side of things, we do want a certain level of competence, as was mentioned. But what we offer, if you can do a little film of yourself playing football, and then you might have a coach or someone at your school who can write a reference about your sport, then that's really helpful for International House. And they will do another discussion with you on the football specifically. So as your sponsor, we need to make sure that you are academically suitable for one of our programs, you're the right age, etc. And then once we've got to that point, then we can talk about the football as well. Not that Chris and I don't talk about football in the interview, we do. Chris is much more knowledgeable about that than I am, but nevertheless, we still sort of talk a little bit about the football. So I hope that answers the question and gives some clarity on that.
Okay, so given the time, we'll do the last questions, and I think Liz will be able to answer this. So how many trainings is the student getting in a week? Can I change to the number of days? Can I reduce it? Can I increase it? Could you please.
Yeah, absolutely.
Help with that.
So we would run initially with the idea that it's 5 afternoons, unless you're on a program that's very intensive, which means that you need to maybe do 3. And we can change some days that you train. You know, we are flexible on that, as Mick said. And you know, I mean, I can give examples of people that have done 5 days every day, no problem, and that's been perfect. Then there's other students who've said, do you know what, I think I'm better doing 3 or 4. I just can't physically manage 5. And again, that is fine. And you know, and then when it comes to exam pinch points and getting closer to things like that, we say, well, you have a week of training while you're preparing for those exams, say if you're International Foundation Programme. And similarly, you know, that hasn't applied this year, but last year when there was fasting during Ramadan, you know, some of the students obviously who were fasting, they went down to maybe 1 or 2 days training so that they could manage that. So I think what everyone needs to know is we can be totally flexible. We want this program to work for you, and we want you to be happy doing it. I mean, inevitably, you do get the odd injury, and we have had the odd student, you know, with an injury, and they've had to have a few weeks off because of that. But that's no problem, because they can just join all their afternoon lessons with the rest of their class as required. So that everything kind of works really, really neatly. And I think now we've done this program for 2 years, you know, we know exactly what the kind of issues can be, and we've got solutions to any of those.
Thanks, Liz. Okay, so we are now coming to the end of the webinar today. I hope everyone find it informative and can take things away. If you still have any questions, please feel free to contact us or contact the regional manager that you've been liaising with. As I said at the beginning, the presentation has been recorded and you'll be sharing with you after the webinar. So have a nice day and see you all soon. Take care.